Mind Vine Studios presents.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that takes a whole stack of sources and boils them down into insights you can actually use, basically a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. Today, we're embarking on a journey really into the idea of stillness. We're using Ryan Holiday's book, Stillness is the Key, as our main guide, our mission, to pull out the essential wisdom, how ancient philosophies, timeless practices, even modern examples can help you find that inner peace, boost your performance, and, well, lead a more fulfilling life.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is that this goes way beyond just, say, meditation or sitting quietly. The source material shows stillness as this powerful fundamental force. It's recognized everywhere. Stoicism, Buddhism, Epicureanism, Christianity, Hinduism, they all touch on it. It's framed as the key, really, to elite performance and happiness, vital for everyone, whether you're a hedge fund manager or, a Super Bowl quarterback.
Right, which makes you ask.
Exactly. If it's so important, why does it feel so, elusive in our modern world? We're constantly bombarded, right?
Yeah.
So we'll unpack this. We're going to look at stillness through three lenses: the mind, the soul, and the body.
Okay, let's start with the mind then. How do we find stillness there? Our sources kick off with a really intense example. JFK during the Cuban Missile Crisis in '62. Just imagine it. The world's holding its breath, nuclear war feels terrifyingly possible, and Kennedy's still dealing with the fallout from the Bay of Pigs failure.
Yeah, immense pressure.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. He actually pushed back against his advisors, the ones shouting for immediate military action.
And he was influenced by a book.
That's right. Barbara Tuchman's The Guns of August. It warns about leaders rushing into conflict without thinking things through properly.
That really shows incredible mental discipline, doesn't it? Especially under that kind of stress. If you look at his notes from the time, they're almost meditative. Things like missile, missile, missile repeated, or consensus, consensus.
Like trying to process it.
Exactly. Trying to organize his thoughts, stay calm. He even adopted a motto from a strategist, B.H. Liddell Hart.
What was that?
Something like, keep strong if possible. In any case, keep cool, have unlimited patience, never corner an opponent, and always assist him to save face.
Wow. That's quite something.
It is. And it let him calmly consider Khrushchev's side of things, choose a blockade, the quarantine, which, crucially, bought time.
It preserved options.
Yeah.
Allowed for de-escalation.
Precisely. And his ability to find solitude, in the rose garden or swimming, plus fostering those open, ego-free discussions, sometimes by leaving the room.
That shows remarkable stillness amidst total chaos.
It does. And the key takeaway, I think, is that these huge crises can be resolved not just by force, but by calm, rational leadership, by mastering your own thinking.
And that's something you can cultivate. It's not just innate.
Absolutely. It takes work, but it's definitely something you can develop.
Okay, so that idea of mental discipline, let's build on that. What about becoming present? The sources bring up Marina Abramovich, the performance artist. Her piece, The Artist is Present. Just think about this. She sat silently, completely still, for 750 hours, over 79 days, facing 1,545 strangers.
Wow.
Her former lover, Ulay, saw her and could only say, "I have no thoughts, only respect."
Mm-hmm.
Her whole goal was, quote, to empty the self, to be able to be present.
And you might think, well, how hard can being present really be?
Right. Seems simple.
But for the people who sat opposite her, it was often almost spiritual. They felt seen, truly engaged with in a way that's so rare today. And for Marina, imagine ignoring hunger, discomfort, the urge to fidget, even just thinking how much longer.
That she had to shut all that out.
Completely. Exist only in that exact moment. As she said, doing something that is close to nothing demands all of you.
That resonates. How often do we miss things because we're not really there?
Yeah.
Rushing, taking photos instead of seeing the sunset.
It's like Tolstoy on love, right? It's only real if it's happening now.
Yeah.
So the insight here is that stillness comes when you stop draining energy on regrets about the past or anxieties about the future.
You just arrive. Be here, now, all of you.
Exactly.
Speaking of focus, or maybe the lack of it, this next one's surprising. Napoleon and his mail.
Ah, yes, the 3-week delay.
Right. He told his secretary, wait 3 weeks before you even open the mail. He found loads of important stuff just sorted itself out.
He only wanted the bad news straight away.
Sounds a bit odd, maybe. But it really hits on a modern problem. Information overload, that constant barrage, the CNN effect.
It does. And what Napoleon was doing, maybe without realizing it, was what Epictetus advised.
The Stoic philosopher.
Yeah. He said, if you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in extraneous matters.
Ouch. That goes against the grain, doesn't it? We feel we need to be on top of everything, checking emails, feeds.
And often ego that need to know. And it costs us peace. It costs us opportunity. Leads to that analysis paralysis.
Like Eisenhower's box. Urgent versus important.
Precisely. A way to be strategic, not just reactive. Because let's be honest, most truly important things, they aren't usually time-sensitive in that instant, gotta reply now way.
That quiet clarity you sometimes have first thing in the morning.
That mental space, it's gold, it's worth protecting, so it makes you ask yourself, are you really in control of your information intake?
Okay, let's shift to sports. Shawn Green, the baseball player. He had this massive slump back in 2002.
Hitting a 90 mile per hour fastball. It's almost impossible anyway, right? Like 400 milliseconds reaction time.
Insane. Now add crippling anxiety, self-doubt. That voice saying, what's wrong with you?
Yogi Berra nailed it. It's impossible to hit and think at the same time.
So true.
But what's interesting is Green didn't just try harder mentally. He used his Buddhist practice to clear his head.
How did that work?
He consciously ejected the toxic thoughts, his contract, expectations, the critics. His mantra, simple, chop wood, carry water.
Focus on the task at hand.
Exactly. Mechanics, being present, not thinking. On May 23rd, 2002, he just cleared his mind. Let the doubts, the wild horses, run past. He hit a double.
And then?
Later, people are congratulating him. The thought of maybe setting a record creeps in. And he applies the same stillness, tells himself, there's no sense in thinking now.
And he ended up hitting 4 home runs that day. One of the greatest games ever.
Incredible. So the point isn't, to become thoughtless. It's about consciously clearing out the noise, the self-sabotage.
That space between your ears. It's valuable real estate.
It really is. Protect it. Keep it clear. That's where stillness thrives.
Sometimes wisdom comes from unexpected places. Like Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
Ah, Mr. Rogers. Such quiet power.
Right. And his opening sequence. Always that blinking yellow traffic light.
Slow down. Be considerate. Be aware.
Exactly. A subtle message.
So how does this fit with the idea of emptying the mind we just talked about? Seems different.
It does, but the source says it's not a contradiction. It's just life.
Okay. Explain that.
After you clear out the surface noise, the mental chatter, then you have the space for deep, deliberate thinking about the big stuff.
Oh, I see. Like the Zen tones. Those baffling questions like, what's the sound of one hand clapping?
Right. Designed to push students past normal thinking into a state of clarity, maybe even insight, satori.
So empty the clutter, then think deeply.
Yeah. And Mr. Rogers also taught us, always look for the helpers during tragedies. Find the good, the comfort, even in pain.
Instead of just reacting instinctively?
Exactly. So much distress comes from knee-jerk reactions. The job, after emptying, is to slow down, really think about what matters, what's hidden, the whole picture.
The whole chessboard. That leads to a grounded kind of stillness.
Let's look at another way to achieve mental stillness. Journaling. The sources point to Anne Frank. She got that autograph book for her 13th birthday, decided right away it would be her journal, somewhere she could confide everything.
And this was just weeks before they went into hiding.
Yeah, 24 days.
And in that horrific situation, the journal became, vital.
A tool for processing everything.
Yeah.
Fear, confinement.
And self-reflection. Remember her line, paper has more patience than people.
Powerful.
She used it to examine her own actions, challenge her thoughts, try to be better, even with, death literally outside the door.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And she's not alone. So many famous journalers.
Oh, absolutely. Marcus Aurelius, his meditations were basically his journal. Queen Victoria, JFK used notes and doodles.
Seneca too.
Yes, Seneca practiced nightly self-review, found the sleep afterwards was sweeter. He called journaling a weapon for spiritual combat.
A weapon.
Yeah, to fight agitation, ask tough questions, get objective, put thoughts on paper, step back, see them clearly.
Creates distance, stillness.
Precisely.
Okay, our final point on the mind. Cultivate silence. And here we look at John Cage, the composer.
The avant-garde guy.
That's him. Even as a teenager, back in 1928, he argued for a national day of quiet so people could hear what other people think.
So for him, silence wasn't just nothing.
No, it was more about listening. Listening to the sounds we usually miss, the ones drowned out by noise. He even talked about hearing his own nervous system in an anechoic chamber.
Which brings us to his most famous piece, 443, 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence.
Or not quite silence.
Exactly. It wasn't about achieving perfect silence. It was about what happens when the performer stops adding to the noise and you just listen.
To the room, the audience, the outside world.
Right. The first performance had wind, rain, the audience rustling, the ambient sounds that are always there.
And we fill our lives with so much noise now. Headphones, screens, notifications.
Constantly. Zeno, the philosopher, pointed out we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Good point.
And leaders like Churchill, Lincoln, they actively sought out quiet moments for reflection.
So shutting up allows you to hear.
Yeah. Hear the world, hear yourself, take control of that information diet we talked about, cultivate a mind that's clear, calm, still.
Moving on, let's talk about seeking wisdom. Socrates is the prime example here.
The man who claimed to know nothing.
Right. Unlike so many who claim wisdom, he was adamant about his ignorance. He knew nothing except just the fact of his ignorance. That humility.
It meant he was always open, always willing to be proven wrong.
And that led to the Socratic method, didn't it?
Yeah.
The constant question.
Why do you think that? What's your evidence? That relentless, open-minded search for truth.
It's a theme across philosophies, isn't it? Study, reflection, humility.
Learning from mistakes? Tolstoy talked about connecting with the wisest people who ever lived through books.
Finding mentors, too, like Zeno finding crates.
Or Buddha and Alara Kalama? Yeah. Wisdom isn't just piling up facts. It's about perspective, the big picture. Rising above bias, understanding what really matters.
Like sitting with doubt sometimes.
Absolutely. Wrestling with big ideas, even when it's uncomfortable. Knowing that truth and a kind of intellectual stillness lies on the other side. So are you willing to do that? It's a question for all of us.
Okay, final thought for the mind domain. Finding confidence, avoiding ego. And the story used is David and Goliath.
A classic. A Goliath, all ego, all bluster.
Challenging the Israelites, who were just frozen in fear.
Then comes David, young shepherd. But his confidence isn't arrogance.
No, it's earned. He tells them, I've killed a lion and a bear with my bare hands. He knows what he can do.
And crucially, he knows his weaknesses too. He refuses the armor because he's not used to it. He's just grounded in reality.
Which makes you think about the cost of ego. Or its opposite, maybe, imposter syndrome.
Yeah, the source called an egomaniac's mind a swirling miasma of grandiosity and insecurity. Can't learn, can't be still.
And imposter syndrome is that constant anxiety you'll be found out, all in your head.
Both block stillness. Think of Ulysses S. Grant. He developed this cool and calm self-confidence. Didn't matter if he was facing hardship or holding immense power.
Selling firewood, saying, I am solving the problem of poverty. Just simple confidence.
Exactly. Confidence is earned, it's rational, objective, it's still. It lets you see setbacks as challenges, maybe even enjoyable ones, not disasters.
Like JFK keeping his head during the missile crisis, finding that confidence within.
Right. You can find that kernel of calm confidence in your own experiences too, and that confidence is a form of stillness.
Okay, let's shift now. From the mind to the domain of the soul, the spirit. Equally vital for stillness. First up, let go. The example here is Awa Kenso, the Japanese archery master.
Ah, the archery master. What's fascinating is he wasn't primarily teaching technique, was he?
No. He taught detachment. He told students, just draw the bow back until the shot fell from you like ripe fruit.
Fell from you, like it happens by itself.
Yeah. How can purposelessness lead to better results? It seems wrong somehow.
Kenzo thought that willful will, that intense desire to control the outcome, to make it happen, actually hindered them.
So trying too hard gets in the way.
Pretty much. He wanted them to detach from hitting the target. He even said hits were just outward proof of your purposelessness at its highest.
Like in golf. Try too hard, grip too tight, and you shank it.
Exactly. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. Stillness comes from looseness, from embracing the process, not fixating on the result.
And when students wanted more instruction,
He'd just say, don't ask. Practice. Get lost in the doing. Be present, empty, open. Like a lotus flower floating above the mud.
when you focus on the steps, stop chasing.
Your mind works better. Problems solve themselves. You find that soul-level stillness.
Next lesson for the soul. Choose virtue. Inspired by Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor.
The Stoic emperor. And his epithets for the self.
Right. Things like upright, modest, straightforward, sane, cooperative. These were his personal standards.
The Stoics saw virtue as the highest good, a kind of soul power coming from within, guiding everything.
And it's not just the Stoics, is it?
Not at all. Look east, the Diadiging, the Taoist text on the way of virtue. Confucius and the Junzi, the ideal, morally excellent person.
It's universal.
Yeah.
Someone with strong principles who acts on them. They find stillness.
There's that example of Jagmeet Singh, the Canadian politician. An angry protester confronts him.
And he responds with love and courage.
Yeah, and the crowd starts chanting it. By choosing virtue in that moment, he stayed cool, centered, created stillness around him too.
Contrast that with Seneca, maybe. Great Stoic writer.
What beautifully about virtue, but his life. Serving Nero, getting rich in dubious ways, his ambition often won out.
Knew the path, but chased other things.
And it cost him. Virtue, unlike fame or money, can't be taken away. It's an internal choice. And it determines your peace, your stillness.
Moving deeper now, let's talk about healing the inner child. The source uses Leonardo da Vinci as an example.
Da Vinci. How so?
His incredible creativity, that childlike curiosity.
Yeah.
Maybe it was linked to a deep sadness.
He was born illegitimate, wasn't he? Effectively cut off by his father.
Right, and the source suggests this led to an insatiable drive for an unconditional patron, always seeking love, acceptance from powerful men.
And often leaving in a huff when they didn't measure up.
Yeah. It highlights how universal these childhood wounds are, how they shaped us as adults, fuel our anxieties, often without us even realizing it.
Like Rick Ankiel, the pitcher, his childhood trauma coming out as a loss of control on the mound.
Or Judd Apatow realizing studio notes felt like his parents meddling.
Those lenses we wear, insecure, anxious, gotta prove them wrong, they're childhood adaptations that make adult life harder, block stillness.
So how do we heal that?
Thich Nhat Hanh's mindfulness approach is mentioned. Recognize the inner child, embrace it, soothe it, see the roots of the suffering.
Gary Shandling's advice too, give more, give what you didn't get, love more, drop the old story.
Exactly. Dropping that old story, that's key for unlocking stillness. It frees you from carrying that old baggage around.
Okay, let's tackle a big obstacle to stillness. Beware desire. And JFK comes up again, but for different reasons.
His personal demons, you mean?
Yeah. Despite his leadership during the missile crisis, he was apparently plagued by this insatiable, almost joyless sex drive. It even gave him headaches if he abstained.
And the source mentions, even during the crisis itself.
Unbelievably, yes. He had a 19-year-old student brought to a hotel near the White House during the standoff. Here's a man trying to manage global impulses, yet enslaved by his own.
It's a stark picture, and it makes you think, how many of us know better, but still get tripped up by our desires?
Lust for power, things, status, envy especially.
Yeah, envy is called a destroyer of peace. Joseph Epstein said it's no fun at all, Democritus. An envious man paints himself as though he were an enemy.
Creates that miserable loop. You envy someone who might actually envy you.
Right. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita calls desire the ever-present enemy of the wise.
So what's the antidote? Perfection seems impossible.
It is, but tools like journaling, like St. Athanasius used, can help. Observe the impulse, resist it. Build spiritual muscle.
True pleasure, the source argues, comes from the soul being stable, happy, secure.
That inner stability, free from the chase. That stillness.
Which leads nicely into the next idea. Enough.
Yeah.
There's that great story about Kurt Vonnegut and Joseph Heller.
At the billionaire's party.
Yeah. Vonnegut asks Heller, how does it feel that this guy makes more in a day than Catch-22 made in its entire history?
And Heller's perfect reply.
I've got something he can never have.
The knowledge that I've got enough?
Just brilliant. Why is enough so powerful, yet so hard to grasp?
Well, think about John Stuart Mill. Had a breakdown at 20, realized achieving all his goals would bring him no joy.
Accomplishments don't bring lasting relief.
Often no. That creep of more, it's relentless, like a hydra.
So what's the alternative?
Eastern wisdom offers one. Lao Tzu. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you.
It's an inner feeling, temperance, not just accumulating stuff.
Exactly. Marco Rubio's story after his son's accident, realizing happiness is found elsewhere, not just in work.
Stillness comes from stepping off that treadmill, seeing the wealth you already have, relationships, experiences.
Realizing you weren't put here just to be a workhorse, that's liberating for the soul. That is stillness.
Our next insight is about bathing in beauty. And Anne Frank comes up again, finding solace even in hiding.
From that tiny attic window.
Looking at the sky, a chestnut tree, birds. The war is raging, but she finds herself entranced to the point of speechlessness.
And she wrote in her diary, as long as this exists, how can I be sad?
It's incredible. Finding comfort, a cure-all in nature, despite everything.
Makes you wonder, are we blind to the beauty around us?
Easily done.
It's not about fancy cars or applause. It's the everyday stuff. Cat paws and dust, the smell of rain on pavement, vegetables from the garden.
John Stuart Mill found peace in Wordsworth's poetry after his breakdown, right? Which was often nature-inspired.
Yeah, and Teddy Roosevelt loved forest bathing for restoration.
So actively noticing and appreciating beauty.
Even small things. It feeds the soul, provides an endless supply of stillness, quiets the mind, tunes you into that wavelength of wisdom.
Okay, let's talk relationships. The need to enter relationships. Johnny Cash provides a poignant example.
After his first marriage ended, moving into that empty house.
Yeah. Pacing the empty rooms, realizing something, or rather someone, was missing.
His daughter, Rosaire.
He just collapsed and wept. A house without family is no home.
So, while some philosophies might hint at detachment to avoid pain, is isolation really the way to stillness?
The source argues no. It's deeply misguided and terribly sad.
Relationships are challenging, aren't they? They demand virtue, presence, empathy, surrender.
They push us.
Deeply. But as Cicero asked, who'd want all the riches in the world if they couldn't love or be loved?
Angela Merkel, Madame Curie, J. Cole. The source mentions them finding partners and family essential.
Vital for their success, their well-being.
Yeah.
Stillness, like success, it's better shared.
You're only a fraction of what you could be alone.
Right. Stillness needs other people. Maybe it's even for other people.
Next up, dealing with anger. Conquer your anger. Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame speech is the example.
For that speech, it was something else.
The guy who'd achieved everything, nothing left to prove, spends nearly half an hour listing every single slight, real or imagined.
Like being cut from the high school team, which wasn't even quite right, or some minor comment from a manager years ago.
And the tone. Trying to be lighthearted, but you could feel the anger underneath.
So was anger his secret weapon, or was it parasitic?
Good question. It might have fueled him, sure. But the source says it also led to pretty savage behavior towards teammates, opponents.
Seneca argued anger ultimately blocks us and turns its teeth on itself. It's counterproductive. Bad for health, bad for relationships.
The Buddhist image of anger as a tiger within us whose claws tear at its own body.
Perfect metaphor. It consumes you.
So instead of letting it rise,
find those insertion points, moments to walk away, to decide, this doesn't matter, I'm not holding on to it. Simple as Mr. Rogers' song sometimes.
Stillness means choosing not to be angry, running on better fuel.
Love, gratitude, purpose. A much more sustainable, peaceful energy for the soul.
Our final insight for the soul domain is transformative. All is one. This comes from astronaut Edgar Mitchell's experience.
Looking back at Earth from space in 1971.
Yeah, 239,000 miles away. Sees our tiny blue planet and feels this instant global consciousness, an intense dissatisfaction with the state of the world, and a compulsion to do something about it.
That overview effect? Suddenly, Earth's squabbles look petty, right? National differences fade.
He felt connection, compassion.
This idea of oneness, it has names everywhere. Christian agape, unconditional love. Greek sympathy, a deep fellow feeling. Chinese Tao, the universal way.
And understanding this fosters stillness. How?
By dissolving selfishness. If we're all connected, hurting others is hurting ourselves. Robert Greene suggests practicing with Freud, actively wishing others well instead of schadenfreude.
Taking joy in others' good fortune, not their misfortune.
Connects us to their joy, their pain. No one's truly alone. Martha Nussbaum asks us to consider what it means just to exist, recognizing how intertwined we are with everything.
Peace comes from seeing victory and defeat as points on a spectrum.
And realizing we're all part of this one big collective organism engaged in one endless project together. Treating every living thing well becomes natural, that interconnectedness. It's a deep wellspring of stillness.
All right, we've covered mind and soul. Now, the third crucial piece, the body. And we start with Winston Churchill. Incredible career, 6.5 decades in government, dozens of books, hundreds of paintings, led Britain through the war. How did he sustain that?
He had a secret, didn't he? His motto about conserving energy.
Never stand up when you can sit down, and never sit down when you can lie down.
Sounds lazy, but it wasn't, was it?
Not at all. It was about preventing burnout. Keeping that spark alive, he lived mens sana in corpore sano. Strong mind, strong body.
His daily routine was pretty intense, actually.
Oh yeah, early wake up, hot bath, reading, writing, walking the estate, a 2-hour nap, family time, another bath, dinner, more writing.
That physical discipline was his foundation for output, for balance.
Even his time out of power in the 30s.
Yeah.
It was rest, rebalancing, prepared him for the war years.
It shows we can't just think our way to peace. We have to live it, move through it. Stillness needs the body, too.
Next insight. The power of saying no.
Yeah.
Illustrated by Fabius, the Roman general fighting Hannibal.
Fabius the delayer, cunctator. His strategy was inaction.
Right. He just didn't attack. Rome thought it was weakness, cowardice even.
Until the mob pressured the other commander into attacking, leading to disaster. Then they got it.
It makes you think, how often do we feel that pressure to act, even when doing nothing is smarter?
Like rookie baseball players swinging wildly. They have to learn patience, learn not to swing most of the time, wait for the right pitch.
Joan Rivers is mentioned too, constantly touring out of fear.
Fear of an empty calendar, fear nobody wants me. She was denying herself stillness, maybe even better work.
We become slaves to the calendar, saying yes to everything.
When the advantages of non-action can be huge, we all need to get better at saying no.
Yeah.
Saying yes to everything means saying no to your peace, giving away pieces of your life.
Protecting your time, your energy. That's physical stillness too. Let's turn to a simpler physical practice. Take a walk. Kierkegaard, the philosopher, swore by it.
His daily walks through Copenhagen, zigzagging, often in the shade.
He wrote, "Every day I walk myself into a state of well-being and walk away from every illness. I have walked myself into my best thoughts."
He thought sitting still bred illness, while movement was almost sacred, cleansed the soul, cleared the mind.
And he wasn't alone in this.
Not by a long shot. Nietzsche, Tesla, Hemingway, Darwin, Steve Jobs, even MLK Jr. and Jesus. Walking was part of their process for clarity, inspiration.
Science backs it up too, right? Blood flow, creativity, mood.
Absolutely. And it's not really about exercise in the calorie-burning sense. It's about presence, detachment, emptying the mind through the rhythm of walking.
Active, but still thinking.
A healthier kind of thinking. So when things get overwhelming, don't just sit there absorbing it. Don't fight, walk.
Like Kierkegaard walking away from despair. Just keep walking.
That simple act brings physical and mental stillness.
Next, let's look at building a routine. Fred Rogers is the perfect example again.
His predictability was legendary.
Woke at 5 a.m., reflection, prayer, swam laps, always weighed 143 pounds, saying Jubilate Deo.
And the show routine. Jacket off, cardigan on, change the shoes, same, every single time.
Can that kind of monotony really bring stillness, fulfillment?
The source says yes. A good routine offers comfort, stability. It becomes a ritual, almost sacred.
Like athletes. Russell Westbrook's pregame stuff. Nadal arranging his water bottles just so.
Exactly. Not just superstition. It's ordering the external to help order the internal. Match the order they want in their heads.
Eisenhower said, freedom is the opportunity for self-discipline.
Right. Automate the small stuff, make good choices habitual, and you free up mental energy for the important things.
Creates room for peace, for stillness. Makes good work inevitable.
Like Japanese flower arranging a master has a system, turns the ordinary sacred. A routine does that for your body and mind.
Let's talk about stuff. Physical stuff. Getting rid of your stuff. Epictetus, the Stoic born a slave, is the example.
He had that prized iron lamp after he gained freedom.
Yeah, but a thief stole it. And his reaction?
He caught himself, remembered his philosophy, said, "Tomorrow, my friend, you will find an earthenware lamp. For a man can only lose what he has." Used a cheap one after that.
Wow. It makes you ask, do we own our stuff, or does it own us?
Seneca warned about being owned by his slaves. Today, maybe it's being house poor.
Mental freedom means little if your possessions weigh you down.
More money, more problems. Most stuff, less freedom. John Boyd, that warrior monk type, lived deliberately small. Said if you reduce your needs to zero, you're truly free.
And that freedom allows stillness. We get caught in comfort creep, needing things we never used to.
So, question what you own. Why could you do without? Clearing physical space clears mental space, gives the mind a rest.
The best car isn't the fanciest. Maybe it's the one you worry least about.
The best house feels most like home. You were born free of stuff. Don't keep forging chains.
Next, the vital practice of seeking solitude. Leonardo da Vinci wrote a fable about this.
The stone in the peaceful grove.
That's the one. Got restless, wanted company, rolled down to the busy road.
And got trod on, covered in mud, chipped, regretted leaving the peace.
Leonardo's moral. That's what happens when you leave the solitary life for the city full of countless evils.
But how do we manage that today? We can't all be hermits. How do we find solitude without total isolation?
Well, Leonardo himself lives in cities. But he carved out solitude, got to his studio early, walked with a notebook, tried to really see.
General Mattis said the biggest problem in leadership is lack of reflection. Solitude lets you reflect while others just react.
Breakthroughs happen in the shower, on a hike.
Yeah.
Not usually in a noisy meeting.
Thomas Merton the monk dedicated his life to solitude, but he realized it was something he carried inside him, accessible anytime.
But solitude, just for its own sake, can be deadening. Needs purpose.
Right. The key is grabbing those pockets of stillness, schedule them, cultivate them, to connect better with yourself and therefore with others you serve. Physical solitude feeds inner stillness.
Let's talk about the danger of becoming a human doing instead of a human being. Queen Victoria and Prince Albert are the cautionary tale.
Deeply in love, dedicated rulers. But their hard work became a vice.
Albert especially read newspapers for hours, felt he couldn't let nothing pass. Wrote, "Man is a beast of burden, only happy if he has to drag his burden."
Is that dedication or self-destruction?
The source points to Karshi in Japan, literally deaths from overwork.
And Albert basically worked himself to death. Died at 42 from Crohn's, made worse by stress.
It's like athletes. Overuse injuries are more common than collision injuries.
Eliud Kipchoge, the runner, trains at 80–90% capacity for longevity.
Work will not set you free. It will kill you if you're not careful.
You don't make good decisions when you're exhausted. You push people away. It's about moderation, limits.
The body's a gift. Don't work it into the ground. Stillness needs rest, balance. Okay, final physical insight, and it's critical. Going to sleep. The story here is Dov Charney, founder of American Apparel.
Once a billion-dollar company. What went wrong? Sleep deprivation was a big part.
A major, often overlooked part. His always accessible boss policy, good at first, became a huge problem as they grew globally.
By 2014, he just wasn't sleeping.
Pretty much not at all.
And we know what lack of sleep does. After about 20 hours, you're cognitively like someone who's drunk.
Charney apparently descended into madness. Contradictory orders, drinking pure Nescafe.
An epic implosion. It's a common pattern. The overworked person creates a crisis, tries to solve it by working more, makes more mistakes.
Ariana Huffington learned this the hard way too. Collapsed from fatigue, broke her cheekbone. A wake-up call.
Realize there's no glamour in working oneself to the bone.
Leisure used to mean galay, school time, for intellectual pursuits.
An opportunity for stillness in a different context. Churchill's painting, John Cage hunting mushrooms.
Mind and soul can't find peace if the body's just struggling to survive.
Make the time. Build the discipline. Sleep. Your stillness depends on it.
Our last insight involves the body, but it's about action. Act bravely. Contrasting a fictional character with a real person.
Clémence from Camus' The Fall versus Anne Dufourmontel, the French philosopher.
Clemens, the respected lawyer, hears a woman fall into the water and does nothing. Ignores it. It haunts him later, reveals his hypocrisy.
While Dufourmontel, who wrote about risk being an incentive for action, died saving 2 drowning children.
A stark contrast. Which is more natural, ignoring the call or diving in?
Stillness isn't about retreating from the world. It's fuel to do more good.
Buddhists, Stoics believed we're fundamentally good. Aristotle called virtue human flourishing. It's how we're meant to live.
Someone making selfish choices, ignoring suffering, they won't find peace.
Marcus Aurelius found delight and stillness moving from one unselfish action to another.
Eleanor Roosevelt, you must do the thing you cannot do. It's scary, yes, but on the other side of courageous good action, that's where true stillness lies.
Think of Emperor Antoninus, his last word. Equanimitas. Equanimity. Stillness.
Or Buddha telling students, seek your liberation with diligence. They embodied peace because they acted on their principles, bravely, throughout their lives. #tag outro.
So after all that, what does this journey through mind, soul, and body mean for you, listening right now? We've seen stillness isn't just one thing. It's JFK's calm and Frank's inner refuge, Heller's enough, Mr. Rogers' routine. It's about conscious choices, consistent practices.
And recognizing, as Saint-Exupéry wrote, what is essential is invisible to the eye. Seen with the heart, the source uses the author's own farm life as an example. Stillness isn't always found in quiet meditation alone.
Sometimes it's practical. Fixing fences, loading hay.
Exactly. Gently nudging a bull. Moments where the mind is empty, the heart is full, the body's busy, but you find that tranquil presence.
The stillness isn't passive. It's not doing nothing.
No. It's being fully present, acting with intention, integrity, cultivating balance.
It's a key, really, to unlocking your potential.
Absolutely. So the final thought for you to carry away is this. Where in your life, in the everyday moments, can you start integrating these practices? How will you intentionally carve out space for the quiet that matters? How will you tap into the stillness that's already within you?
Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more.